there's battles we don't even realize we're fighting. And
Yes.
here's something that's eye-opening. Surveys from the American Psychological Association shows that more than 70% of adults say stress affects their physical health, and about half says it affects their relationships, which means that most of us are fighting invisible battles every day, often with ourselves or other people. How can someone tell that they're like stuck fighting the wrong battle, like control, like perfectionism, or even their own thoughts? Because, in life, we see everyone, we can see everyone, but we can't see ourselves. We're not walking around like, like the reality TV show. You see this person, oh, they're a narcissist, or oh, they're
Yes.
caring or loving, but we can't see ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you just opened kind of like my favorite part of psychology, right? My favorite theory by far is the political theory. And that theory goes connected to what you're talking about, to the fact that we are living with stress that shows in the body and in our relationship. So I am going to give you key points that will show you where you are in your stress level, right? So, and I'm going to use a political theory to do that, but in layman's terms, right? So when you are stressed, when you're anxious, usually it radiates a lot in the stomach. We get a lot of gut issues, gastritis. People who have long-term stress can have ulcers. So when you start kind of feeling, oh my goodness, you know what? I didn't eat anything and I'm feeling, and this is gonna sound constipated, all right?
Yeah.
That is a key factor that you are stressed. And a lot of people get this when they're traveling, when they're about to give presentations, when they are in a relationship that is not healthy, right? When they're always anxious, right? Or perfectionism, right? By always have to be perfect. There's a lot of stress in that. And so I might have a lot of constipation. Now, when you surpass that level, right? You are overwhelmed. You are living more. You were talking with your past uh participant about burnout, right? So when you're past that level and you're at that level of overwhelmed, actually you tend to have diarrhea. And I don't think you were meant to like me to talk about this right here, but you talked about the body, so I'm gonna
Nah,
talk
it's
about the
okay.
body, right?
Yeah.
So that is a key component. If you are a person who has IBS, right? If you are a person who has a lot of gut problems that lead to diarrhea, you are probably most likely spend a lot of time depressed, dissociated, overwhelmed, right? So these are really simple things that you can notice, right? That you can read, that you don't have to know much about yourself because they are screaming at you. Lower temperature in your body also means that you're dissociated, numb, depressed. When you're overheated, you're more in the anxious part. So again, I'm giving you things that are as clear as water for you to be able to acknowledge when you are stressed, anxious, depressed, associated, right? They're different, they're almost in the same category when I'm talking about stress, right? And anxious, they're in the same kind of body sensations. When I'm talking about dissociated, numb, and depressed, they're in the same body sensations and the things that are happening within your body. Now, when it comes to relationships, so I'm gonna separate it, right? And then I'll give you special tools, right, to each. When it comes to relationships, when you are anxious or stressed, right? You're in that sympathetic, you're in the fight or flight, right? That is where we're not listening to our body before responding, and we might yell at our partner, criticize our partner, or friends, colleagues, criticize ourselves. We tend to be we're right. We're hurting others or ourselves when we're
Um,
there, right? As opposed to when we have crossed that threshold, right? And now we're in the overwhelm, dissociated, and then we just feel kind of like, I don't even want to look at you right now. I can't even talk to you. All right, I'm done with you. You don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to look at anybody. You may kind of dive into work and not want to relate to anybody, right? You may, if it's really, really like you've really passed that threshold, you may even want to just stay home and be in bed, right? You start losing that motivation and really begin to see that darkness. And so those are key factors, what happens in the body and what happens socially, right? And so I do want to give you, since I talked about that, I feel like it would be unfair if I don't give you like specific tools for each. Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome.
All right, all right. So when you are in the sympathetic or in that anxious stress response, right? Whether it is because you notice because your stomach hurt or because you screamed at somebody, you're like, oh my goodness, I just screamed at my boss. Just kidding. Right? Um, what you can do if it's a crisis and you cannot control yourself, go to the bathroom, cold water. Cold water is a technique that is part of the dialectical behavior therapy tip technique and is a temperature tipping. And so what happens is that your heart rate lowers significantly and quick, right? So much so that they'll tell you in the book, in the dialectical behavioral book, they'll tell you that if you have cardiovascular disease, you shouldn't do this, right? Because the heart will drop quickly. What that does is that your stress levels will get lower, cortisol level gets lower, and you are able to respond in a better manner. Again, this only when it's like you can't control yourself and you need to calm down, right?
Yeah.
If you're able to read yourself before that, right? Um, Being able to connect with your breath for those who, I have to say something that is very important. For some people, the breath causes more anxiety,
Mm,
right? Depending on your trauma. So if you are a person that this doesn't happen, that you can connect with your breath, taking deep breaths, specifically breathing in 4 counts and out six. Why? When you breathe in, you go to the sympathetic, meaning you're ready to fight. But when you breathe out, you go to your parasympathetic, meaning the body calms down. So the longer your out breath is, the calmer your body becomes. And if we incorporate that mindfulness, and the mindfulness part is I'm paying attention to my breath, you are just going to calm down and you're going to be able to be with your boss, your partner, your children, your patients, whoever. All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. But there's more. This one, because I
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about the overwhelm, because you
Mhm.
can't use the same techniques. People have a misunderstanding. They think they're confused in that they think that all skills are alike and they can all be used in all states. All
Mhm.
right. When we're in the overwhelm, remember I said that you're cold, right? So when you're in the overwhelm state, uh, cold will get you even worse. You're already cold, right? So drinking something warm will be important. A soup, hot chocolate, taking a hot shower, covering yourself. What we want to do is bring you back to life. Walking in the sun would be good. All right. So I'll pause now because I I know I just go in my
No,
soapbox.
no, that's awesome because a lot of people don't think about things like that. And I'm sure you heard like hate is just love turned inside out. And so there's like a continuum of emotions that it's just a continuum of things and treating it may be a little different